Hi, we are here with
Leecia, candidate for New York State Attorney General.
Awesome. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Shaniqua. I am running as the most qualified, most prepared candidate to be the Attorney General of this state at a really critical time. We have this horrific president named Donald Trump who is doing so much to undermine so many of the rights that we hold dear. And I'm best prepared to fight against what he's doing, but I'm also best prepared to deal with the issues that we have at home, which predate Donald Trump, issues that we own. We've got an unfair criminal justice system. We own that. We have, lack of educational, economic opportunities for so many of our children. We own those issues. We own bad voting laws. We own people living in housing that is literally not safe for them to live in. I am proud of my more than 25 years fighting in the trenches for social justice. I'm a product of the public school system, went to Harvard Law School, clerked for the first African American to be on the state's highest court. I have more courtroom experience than any other candidate in this race by far across the state. Proudly served as a lawyer for Joe Biden to help him implement the Violence Against Women Act to help families and women and children who are surviving domestic violence. I'm very proud that I was the very first Senate counsel and Homeland Security advisor to Hillary Clinton, fighting in the trenches with Hillary for more than 4.5 years to advance women's rights, advance pay equity, to advance reproductive rights, to provide educational economic opportunities, to advance voting rights, civil rights, you name it. And then more recently, proudly served as the first woman and the first person of color to be the Chief Economic Development Advisor to a governor of our state in the state's history, overseeing 11 agencies in state government. When I left the governor's office 5 years ago, they gave my job to 2 different people. But when I had it, I took care of business, overseeing 11 agencies in state government. I've been extraordinarily blessed. And frankly, Shaniqua, one of the reasons why I'm running is because, my father, Arthur Eve, served with distinction in the State Assembly for 36 years. Any of your viewers out there who are EOP or HEOP graduates, my father started those programs 51 years ago as a rookie member of the State Assembly in 1967, and now more than 100,000 young women and men in our communities have gone on to college that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. And so I'm running, yes, as my own person, but I stand on the shoulders of 2 great public servants, my father and my mother. My mother taught for 33 years and in her retirement founded what became the largest and most comprehensive alternatives to incarceration for women in the state's history. So yes, I'm proud of what I've done, but I stand on the shoulders of 2 great people. And in my efforts to be the next Attorney General, I have talked about my really unmatched record to improve the lives of New Yorkers across the state, across Long Island, but really across the state. And really look forward to, with your support, on September 13th, voting Leecia for 7A as my ballot number. With your support, really look forward to continuing to do my utmost to fight on behalf of all New Yorkers as the next Attorney General.
Awesome. So I have a couple of questions. One of the questions is about Ban the Box.
Yes.
A lot of our, young men and women that enter the system come out and they try to provide a life for themselves. They try to provide a life for their family. And one of the first questions they're asked with job application is, have they ever been arrested or charged with a felony? Is there anything that you plan to do about banning the box?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, and you don't even know this, but the brother who is cooking here, I'm at the Urban League's picnic on Suffolk County, Long Island. I am leaving no stone unturned to reach out to everyone to ask for their vote. So I am out here in the park, but the brother who's this fabulous chef, yes, I'm here. But the brother who is cooking the food said, hey, he was offered he had a job, opportunity to get a job, $100,000 a year job. But he did time 25 years ago. Everybody makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. And I have been fighting for criminal justice reform, all of my life. We need to, not only do I support the legalization of marijuana, but I am on record aggressively advocating to have every single conviction for the recreational use of marijuana expunged, written off. So it's not even about before you get to the box. Anybody who has a conviction for the recreational use of marijuana, that conviction should disappear completely from their records. And the reason why I feel so strongly about that is we have thousands of young men and women in particular in our community who got arrested for recreational use of drugs, but someone else in a wealthier community in the suburbs, was treated differently. And that's just not right. And so I believe we need to do much more to provide educational economic opportunities so people don't have the interaction with the criminal justice system in the first place. But once they do, we need to make our justice system more fair and make it easier for people to turn their lives around. So I support the expungement of records. I support the elimination of cash bail. Rikers Island needs to be closed as soon as possible. I support alternatives to incarceration. And for me, Shaniqua, I want you to understand, and I so appreciate this opportunity, and thank you for all the good work that you're doing to improve lives in our community. But I want people to understand, for me, criminal justice reform is not rhetoric. Those of you who remember the Attica prison riots, I was 7 years old at the time. My father in 1971 was the very first civilian to enter the Attica prison during the riots. Why? Because when he was a young member of the assembly, prisoners would write him, and they would write other legislators. But he was the only one that took the time to respond to their letters. And so when the riots broke out, they reached out to him and they said, will you come to the prison and help negotiate on our behalf? My father didn't hesitate, and I didn't understand it as a 7-year-old at the time, but I later learned as a teenager that my father went into that prison not knowing whether he would come out alive. And that is what I am made of. So the notion of criminal justice reform is not rhetoric for me. It's my family's work, it's my life's work. Fast forward, as a very young lawyer, the case that I am most proud of in the 28 years that I have proudly been a lawyer is a case where I represented hundreds of women incarcerated in District of Columbia prisons against the District of Columbia because of prison conditions they were living in. Women who felt that they had to have sex with prison guards so they could see their children. One of my clients had her legs shackled to a hospital bed and she brought a child into this world. This conduct was inhumane, it was unjust, it was unconstitutional. We filed suit and we won. And we won. It's not just about fighting, it's about knowing how to fight and how to win. And we won. And I wasn't even 30 years old when I handled that suit on behalf of hundreds of women. Women who look like me. Women who look like you, Shaniqua. So that gives you a sense of the kind of lawyer I was when I was barely 30 years old. And that gives you a glimpse of the kind of attorney general I will be.
Awesome. And my final question has to do with the opioid epidemic.
Yes.
And the fact that some want to hold the pharmaceuticals companies accountable because they were aware of the addictive properties. These things are now getting into our drinking water, affecting our environment. What would you do to help hold the pharmaceuticals companies accountable, if you would hold them accountable?
Absolutely, I would hold them accountable. Shaniqua, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, some of these big pharmaceutical companies, we call them universally big pharma, they have misled the public. They have misled the public. We have an opioid crisis that is getting worse by the day, every single day in this state. And what we need to do to address this crisis is frankly what we didn't do when we were confronting the crack crisis, where we didn't give people the treatment that they needed, right? Where we treated addiction as a crime. And we made mistakes. This state and this country made mistakes in terms of how we were going to deal with people who were addicted to crack. It's time in the opioid crisis to deal with that issue head on and deal with it in the way that we should have dealt with the crack crisis. I would aggressively investigate and go after pharmaceutical companies who have misled the public about the potency of these drugs. I mean, I'm 54 years old, and I remember, growing up, and people would, do drugs, and maybe after a few times of trying something, they get hip to it. Some of these drugs are so powerful, 1 and 2 uses is enough to addict people for life. And then they're put in a situation where even when they have the courage to go seek treatment, the insurance company is like, well, you only got 15 days. How are you going to deal with an addiction in 15 days? Or even if the insurance company says, okay, you got 30 days, but then once you're out, now you're going back to the same community where you were exposed to these opioids or other drugs in the first place. We have a lot to deal with in this state. And the opioid crisis and an unfair criminal justice system and helping our brothers who have made mistakes but who have paid their debts to society and are ready to turn their lives around. We need to do the utmost to help them do that. It's the right thing to do. I'm a person of faith. I believe it's a Christian thing to do, but bluntly, it's a smart thing to do. It's a smart thing to do to help people turn their lives around so they can lead more productive lives. We're all going to be better off for it.
I did realize I had one more.
Yes, yes.
And it's just about the gun crisis in America,
yes,
and the NRA. And if you could just share your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, again, this is an issue that I'm not new to. When I was counsel to Hillary Clinton for 4.5 years, I can't tell you how many fights that we had, Hillary and I, with other Democrats and some thoughtful Republicans, but mostly Democrats, fighting in the trenches to close the gun show loophole, to try and get the assault ban's weapon reauthorized. I mean, I've been affected by gun violence in my own extended family. My nephew was shot. We still don't know, who shot him. We have too many guns in our state coming from other states, which is the reason why we need to close the gun show loophole. I'm glad that the legislature and the governor enacted what we call the SAFE Act, which is now the most potent, most robust gun law in the nation. But one of my opponents in this race, she questioned, whether the SAFE Act should have been enacted because she didn't like the process. She thought there wasn't enough time to consider the legislation. And I'm saying to myself, not enough time. We have people dying in our communities every single day. Every single day. I don't care if it took 5 minutes to pass this legislation. That's 5 minutes too long because too many of our children have been buried by their parents because we have too many guns on the street. And so, I got a questionnaire for the NRA. I threw it in the garbage because they don't want to know how I will use all my tools to bring them down if I am the next Attorney General. So I really do appreciate you asking that question. We have to do a whole lot more to get rid of guns, to improve our criminal justice system, to help people turn their lives around, and to expand educational and economic opportunities for all of our children. I started off by saying, I'm a proud graduate of Harvard Law School. I was there with somebody named Barack Obama and Michelle Robinson before she married, Barack. We were all Harvard Law School at the same time. And I'm really proud of that. But the foundation for me being able to go to Harvard Law School was that I had a quality public school education. And so many children in our state do not have the kind of quality public school education that I had. And they're legally and morally entitled to receive it. And so as Attorney General, this is not an issue you have heard Attorney Generals in the past talk about, but I believe every child in this state, no matter what their zip code, no matter what they look like, is entitled under the state's constitution to have a sound, basic, quality education. And I will work tirelessly as Attorney General to make sure that they have what they are entitled to receive.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Shaniqua. It was an honor to meet you. Thank you. And I encourage everybody, go to the polls Thursday, September 13th. Believe in Eve. Vote for Leecia Eve to be your next Attorney General. Pull that lever 7-8. Thank you so much and God bless.